The latest edition of Down East magazine is out, and it features a spread of stories on something Maine is well known for, its islands. Brian Kevin is the editor-in-chief of the magazine. He is in the 207 studio to talk to us about some of the must-read stories. And the first one on the list is we're taking a trip to Great Duck Island. But we're not talking about ducks, we're talking about these little critters called petrels.
Yeah, it's a migrating seabird, petrels, and up on Great Duck Island, which is largely owned by the state and the Nature Conservancy, with a little parcel of it that is owned and run by the College of the Atlantic. And the student researchers from the College of the Atlantic are in the process out there of trying to gauge exactly how many petrels come to nest and breed on this island during the breeding season in the summertime, because worldwide their numbers are declining. And so it's a kind of an interesting quest. Kimberly Ridley, the author, went out there with some researchers to get a sense of their research, and also a weird little quest of their own, which is apparently petrel chicks have a very unique smell, and Kim, a birder, has always wanted to smell one.
That's a great reason to want to find them.
That is one of many good reasons.
They're very mysterious. Hard to find these little buggers.
And very floofy and cute.
They're adorable. Another story and person worth highlighting is a Maine Island Trail Association steward named Christina Hassett.
Yeah, you couldn't do an island issue without talking about some of the great organizations that help island communities and the landscapes of these places, which includes but is not limited to the Maine Island Trail Association. If you know anything about MITA, they maintain a roster of like 200-something islands for recreation, for conservation, and Jenny O'Connell, the writer on this piece, spent a little time with one of the island stewards looking at the work that goes in, the logistically complicated work of stewarding some of these properties.
And this woman is really a Jill of all trades.
You kind of have to be. I mean, you're out there at sea. Bean Island, which is where she's located, is not so far out there, but they're in the middle of, or we're in the middle of, taking down like an old and sort of vandalized and slightly maybe dangerous to visitors property. Yeah. And just the work of doing that requires a lot of skill, a lot of patience, a lot of know-how.
It's really cool. All right, we're heading to Swans Island and a little tavern known as Daint's Place. Epic.
Every so often you get to report a story that's more fun than should be able to be called work. And a couple of folks out on Swans, a fellow named Garrett Lemoyne and his wife Jen Sitzma, they have turned an old trap shed in their yard into just the most fun, friendly, pseudo-bar hangout that you could imagine. Yeah. Now, I'm at pains to mention it is not an actual bar, so they are not arrested. Now, at least, you can't run a bar in your yard no matter what.
Nope.
Also, Swans is a dry island. No money exchanges hands at Daint's Place. There is no tip jar. There's not a club you can join. It's just a lot of friends who like to get together, pool their resources, bring in whiskey. They love bourbon, and really celebrate the camaraderie that I think you only find on Maine islands. And I think the story is a little bit about how this place in particular, and Maine islands in general, you see some crossing of social boundaries that maybe in the rest of America we don't cross maybe as well as we should. Read the piece. I had so much fun. I love these folks.
I love the quote. I just wanted to point it out that nobody cares what your politics are, nobody cares what your bank balance is. So it sounds like a place we can all enjoy.
And I think folks living in Maine Island communities understand that, because there's this history of pulling together, and you see it in a spot like Daint's Place. They have an Instagram feed where you can watch them having so much fun. It shouldn't be legal, but there's a little bit more going on there in terms of the culture of these very special communities.
That's awesome. All right, and last on the list is Maine's oldest rock, which is off of Islesboro.
Perhaps New England's oldest rock. And so Laura Popick, who's a terrific writer and something of a geology nerd, turned us on to the fact that on 700-acre island off of Islesboro in Penobscot Bay, there is outcrops of what rock that may be as old as 1.8 billion, I almost said million, billion years, which I'm pretty sure the world is like 4.4 or something like that. So that gives you a sense of, well, you can read it to get a sense of how this got to be there. Geologically complicated, also very, very beautiful to look at. Just a really neat little story about mineral life.
That's what blew me away too, 1.8 billion years. Wild. Oh my gosh, and I bet this is an edition that everybody looks forward to, the island issue.
Every so often we get to do an issue where I feel like if you don't like this one, you just don't like our magazine. And this is probably that. I mean, Maine Islands are very special. The landscapes, the communities, the rock, the stories. We're lucky to be able to do this, and we're lucky to have these places.
It's a great issue. Thank you so much, Brian,
for
coming into the studio. And if you want to read more about it, just head to the 207 section of our website and app. Don't go anywhere. We've got more 207 right after this.